Hi, everyone. It's Coach Fred here, and today I'm going to be talking about something that you've been learning probably all these years you've been taking math, and maybe around 6th, 7th grade at this point, and starting 6th and 7th grade math or pre-algebra. And when you start the year, you talk about expressions. And so I think it's important to know that an expression is just a set of numbers and or letters. It doesn't include an equal sign. And when we are dealing with expressions, all we can do with them is simplify them. Equations, however, have an equal sign, usually one variable, and we can solve them. And then when you get into Algebra 1, you're going to learn about functions. But today we're going to talk about expressions. And we're specifically going to talk about simplifying expressions. So simplifying expressions, you may remember that your teacher told you had to follow proper order of operations and might have taught you PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which meant parentheses had to go first, and then exponents, multiplication and division together from left to right, whichever one comes first, and then addition and subtraction. But now that you're moving into pre-algebra and beyond, I'm going to change it slightly. I'm just going to add on, okay? Not to get you confused, but instead of PEMDAS, I'm going to change it to GEMDAS. Yes, that's right. Coach Fred is changing something up. So we're going to change to GEMDAS, and here's why. When we follow proper order of operations as they get more involved, the G actually represents not just parentheses, but all grouping symbols. And that's important because it's not just parentheses that go first. So grouping symbols, yes, they're parentheses. They could be brackets. They could be something called the square root symbol, meaning you have to do everything under the square root first. And that's a funny one if you've never heard of that before. It could be absolute value bars, where you have to do everything inside the absolute value bars. And here's the one that's tricky. It could even be a fraction bar. A fraction bar, when you write a fraction, whatever's in the numerator you do, then everything in the denominator before you actually divide. So I want to switch us to grouping symbols. Then we move on to exponents. Then we do our multiplication or division, whichever one comes first from left to right. So remember, we're always moving from left to right. And that's important actually when you get into higher algebra as well, because we read graphs from left to right. And then addition and subtraction, again, together, whichever one comes first from left to right. All right, so again, we're dealing with expressions and we want to follow the proper order of operations. All right, so let's look at an example. So here I've got 20 minus 20 divided by 5 times 3. So I'm going to write down my GEMDAS. Okay, it doesn't look like I have any grouping symbols and I don't have any exponents. That means I'm looking at multiplication and division first and I move from left to right. So it looks like I have 20 divided by 5 first. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. Then I move on to the next multiplication and division from left to right. So that would be 4 times 3, which is 12. Now I can do the addition and subtraction. So 2 minus 12 would give me negative 10. So there's that negative value that you're probably learning about as well. All right, let's try another one. This one, I'm going to get my GEMDAS written. There's my GEMDAS. Okay, grouping symbols. So I go to my grouping symbols. Now I've got to, within the grouping symbols, I have to follow order of operations. So that means I'm going to go to exponents with those grouping symbols first. So that's going to become a 9. Then multiplication and division. So that's 45. Okay. So I have 45 plus 9. Let me make that look a little prettier. Sorry about that. I'm going to move that over there and get rid of all this. Okay. So I had 45 plus 9, still in parentheses, 2 times plus 4. Okay, so I'm still working within the grouping symbols. So 45 plus 9 is 54. And then now I can drop those parentheses or the grouping symbol. And so now I'm going to do the multiplication. 2 times 54 is 108 plus 4, which is 112. Did I do that right? Yes. Now you might notice that I got smaller each step, and I didn't skip any steps. And that's kind of like, it looks like a tornado almost. So I always like to think of order of operations. You really want to be really neat and not skip steps, show all your work. So it's like tornado math, okay? All right, let's look at something a little bit harder. All right, now I've got 2 sets of parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to get my GEMDAS. Again, I know I'm using GEMDAS because it's an expression. There's no equal sign. So all I could do to this would be to simplify. All right, so I'm going to start on the left. So I have 6 plus 4 because I have to do everything inside the parentheses first. That's going to give me 10 squared. I go to the next set of parentheses and I have to do everything first. But in the parentheses, I've got to follow GEMDAS. So I actually have to do this division first. So that's going to give me 11 plus 10 divided by 2, which is 5. All right, now I have to do the 11 plus 5, which is 16. So I can drop the parentheses now. I can evaluate 10 squared because exponents would be next, which is 100. 10 squared means 10 times 10. So 100 plus 16 would give me 116. Hopefully this is coming together. And I know the numbers are kind of big. All right, now I've got multiplication, I've got addition, I've got parentheses. So again, I'm going to write GEMDAS. And I hope you're saying to yourself, why am I using GEMDAS? Because it's an expression, and we simplify expressions using the proper order of operations. All right, so I go to my grouping symbol. So I have this whole thing. So I have to do the exponents first. So that's going to be this part. So I'm going to do 4 times 12 times 6 minus 16 plus 9. All right. Then I'm going to move inside a little bit more. I have to do the multiplication. So 12 times 6. I'm actually going to turn that multiplication symbol into a dot. It's just a little bit easier for me. So 12 times 6 is 72 minus 16 plus 9. Working my way down. Again, I'm really creating this tornado, getting smaller and smaller, not skipping steps. So I've got to finish those parentheses. So 72 minus 16. Well, the way I do that is 72 minus 20 would be 52, but I have to add 4 to it. So that would be 56. So 4 times 56 plus 9. Let me say how I did that again. I did 72 minus 20, which gave me 52. But 20 is 4 away from 16, so I had to add 4, which gave me 56. So that's how I did that in my head, just kind of showing you some of the ways you could do that. You also could do 72 minus 10, and then 72 minus 6 as well, and then add those two together. That's another way of thinking about it. All right, so now I've got 4 times 56 plus 9. Yuck, Coach Fred. So I might go to the side of my paper. When I do work on the side of my paper, I always actually put a box for myself. So I'm going to do 56 times 4. So 6 times 4 is 24. I'm going to carry the 2, bring the 4. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 224. So 224 plus 9, which is going to be 233. Whew. All right. I had to do it. I had to throw in that weird grouping symbol of the fraction bar. So again, I want you to remember a grouping symbol, parentheses, brackets, absolute values, square roots, and the fraction bar. So you want to do everything in the numerator and then everything in the denominator before you actually divide them. Okay, so again, I don't have any exponents, so I'm going to do the multiplication and division. So I'm going to go this way so you can see it better. So 4 times 8 would give me 32 minus 1 times 11, so 11. 32 minus 11 would give me 21. All right, now I move to the bottom. I go inside the parentheses because I got that grouping symbol, and within that I do exponents first. So I have 3 times 9 minus 2 cubed means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. So then I've got 9 minus 8, which is 1. So 3 times 1 is 3. Now I can divide. 21 divided by 3 is going to give me 7. All right, So that's proper order of operations. Again, we use it with expressions, and I want you to try and think of, instead of P, using a G for grouping symbols. Hopefully that was helpful. Have a great day.